Hey everyone, welcome back to How to Be a Poser. Today we're going to be hitting poses that showcase a character's dogged determination in the face of extreme adversity. To do that, we're going to be using the Armored Batman Battle Damage version from Hot Toys. Let's get started. Okay, here he is, the Armored Batman Battle Damage version. Still in his box, exactly how he's going to come to you. Comes with a wide range of hands for you to play with, a kryptonite spear, a grapple, and a grenade launcher. This is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to see what this guy's capable of, so let's get rolling. Okay, at last I have my hands on the Armored Batman figure. I've been looking forward to seeing what I can do with this for a really long time. So I think that in this case, I'm going to really go more for presence than for anything else, at least for this initial pose. Let's start with swapping out some hands. Just want to lose these gauntlets here, just the relaxed posture, because that's not really what I'm after. All right, get rid of those, and we're going to use, for his left hand, I'm going to use a closed fist to get that ball joint back in there. Now, since I'm actually having to mess with this ball joint while it's still out of the socket, I'm just going to go ahead and orient it so that I can move the fist like this, because I want to just do like that whole, like he's flexing his forearm there. And once I get that pulled off, then just put it back in its home. Easy peasy. I'm going to take this off. This thing separates so that you can turn on the light. The batteries for this light up feature in the spear go right in here. There's this little tiny screw right there. Just get yourself a precision screwdriver. You know what to do with that. Once you get that out, 3 button cell batteries will drop right down in there. You can flick on this switch right here and it will light up. Oh yeah, look at that. Success. Victory is mine. I've won again, as I win at all things. I think that that's just a little too high up for what I had in mind, so I'm going to pop that back out again, because the reason I keep pulling this part of the spear out while I'm manipulating the hand on the spear shaft is because I'm concerned that if I don't do that, I'm going to apply too much pressure inadvertently on this end of the spear, and it's going to snap that part off. So avoid that if you can by pulling that out and just working with the base of the spear. And there you go. I got it right where I want it to be. Now I can return that to its home and get this guy back on to the wrist peg. Done. So again, this is going to be just a basic museum pose of this figure. So as such, it's going to be all about the angles. So I'm going to have him looking this way, because if this were to be on display, I would really want to highlight this great portrait of Ben Affleck that's showing through this broken helmet. So rotate the figure so that that side of the face is facing to the front. Let's take this leg and twist it just a little bit so the toe is facing out that way. Alright, I want to rotate this torso towards the front as well. And maybe, I think, just shift the hips to the front and bend the upper torso towards me. See what I did there? Just kind of gives a little bit of an attitude. Like, just imagine that he's looking down into that crater at Superman and just like, that's right, I got you. When I'm doing a museum pose, you don't necessarily, a lot of people like to have really dramatic action poses, but what I've come to find out is that as long as you hit almost every point of articulation on a figure, you don't really need to go crazy and super dramatic. In fact, a lot of the attempts that I've seen by people to go super dramatic with their poses have resulted in poses that look kind of weak. The technique isn't there, so the overall impression isn't one that's remarkable. It's not really something that you can look at and say, wow, that looks real. Whereas you can get more realism out of just a standard museum pose by paying attention to every single point of articulation than you can out of just hitting a few points of articulation and trying to do something dramatic. So let's see, I'm going to move this arm back just a touch here, straighten that arm just a little bit. I want this rotated out. If this is going to be my line of sight, if I were going to be taking a photograph of this, I would want that spear not to be going straight to the side. I don't want it going straight to the front. I want it to be sitting in such a way that it's drawing, that there's an angle that's created that draws the eye straight to the figure itself. Be firm and yet gentle so that you're not knocking other appendages or whatever off kilter and ruining your pose. Again, pretty basic, but because I've actually twisted the legs, created some angles there, bent the knees just ever so slightly, bent the elbows, bent the torso, twisted the torso towards the front, and have the head turned off center and even ever so slightly cocked to suggest attitude. Despite how basic this looks, it's anything but. This look for Batman is so iconic and evocative that it's impossible not to appreciate it. The Dark Knight Returns was a turning point with the way writers handled the character. It escalated the friction in the friendship between Batman and Superman. And the movie design so closely echoes the Frank Miller art that it can represent whatever the collector wants it to in any display.